Maurice in Cedar Hill. How are you?
Hi, hello, guys. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
I was wondering if maybe if I'm 65 years old and I'm still evolving, and I don't think I'll ever be an atheist because atheists seem to be too finite and thinking death is it.
Do you have any reason to think that death isn't it?
Of course, sure.
Okay.
We just don't believe in claims that don't have evidence. That's the main issue of atheism.
Or skepticism.
Well, in court we have circumstantial evidence. That's because it's reasonable. It may not be concrete evidence, but it's reasonable.
Actually,
evidence.
in court, if somebody presents circumstantial evidence, you can object.
And we object.
Sure, but you also can be found guilty based on
all right.
Circumstantial evidence.
Like, if Shane's out back and Shane come in and give me a thumbs up on this, because I think you're playing fast and loose with what you can do in a court, but we definitely couldn't demonstrate the truth of, courts also don't allow spectral evidence. They used to.
Well, let's talk about civil court. Civil court.
Hang on. Once upon a time, you could go into courtrooms and talk about how the witch cast a spell on you. We don't allow that anymore. And so when it comes to things about the afterlife, we don't allow testimonial or claims related to the afterlife in a court. And so that at least tells you that if you're going to try to appeal to this is something we could allow in court, you're wrong.
Well, I was thinking more civil court.
You can't do it in civil court either. If I walk in and I'm suing somebody for slander, I can't say Molly's ghost told me that this happened.
No, but your claim can be somebody can win money from you based on circumstantial evidence, and your money can be transferred to somebody else based on circumstantial evidence.
Okay.
A preponderance of evidence.
A preponderance of evidence, but let's set aside circumstantial for a second because that's, as far as I know, is objectionable. Can we get to whatever your question was or your evidence for an afterlife?
Where I am is what if we change the definition of God to more of a process than a singular deity? A process where we're born and we evolve and we grow to and able to become a spiritual creature in another realm.
One of my frustrations with sitting in this seat is that everybody seems to have a different notion of what God is, and then they sort of say, well, you can't prove that my God doesn't exist, sort of thing. It'd be really nice if the theists would all get together and figure out what they believe in and just pick one thing. But I don't see that happening. So I'm not terribly moved by redefinitions of God. I don't see any reason for it.
There have been a lot of attempts to redefine God. There are some people who say God is the universe. Well, I believe in the universe. Why call it God? But you were like, what if we define it as a process of being born? I was with you for a while there, right up until you got this transition to being a spiritual being. We've no evidence that any such thing exists.
Well, my loose evidence is, I've experienced a couple of witnessing a couple of people who experienced the near-death experience.
Yes.
One of them was my father. My father was a no-nonsense guy. He didn't go to church. He never talked to religion. And he was a bad diabetic, and he's in the hospital, and I'm sitting there, and we're laughing and talking like we've done a million times. And all of a sudden, my father freezes, and he's looking up. Now, keep in mind, my father wasn't short of oxygen. His vitals were good. This thing with the doctor said about short of oxygen, that wasn't happening. And he called his brother's name, the deceased brother. Now, when he come back to himself, he was astounded. He would never have talked to me about that. He'd have felt ridiculous.
How did you
that kind of guy?
How did you determine? How did you determine that it's more likely that he was actually talking with these people and not that there was something wrong with his brain?
Well, you're talking about somebody who is still all their faculties. You're not talking about somebody who's having any.
I'm talking about somebody who had an experience for which we don't have. You don't get to say that he has all of his faculties. You have no idea what was going on in his brain at the moment that he's reporting this experience.
Well, he's okay, and 99.9 except this one thing. And all of a sudden,
99.9% of statistics are pulled right out of somebody's ass.
well, what I mean by that,
I know.
What I mean by that is he's not saying anything. Green is still green to him. The sky is still blue to him.
Yes.
But just this one thing. One thing.
You're aware that there are all sorts of weird things that happen with people's brains, and some of them are not necessarily permanent. Just because, we have a hallucination doesn't mean that we're not rational once the hallucination's over.
Okay, I'm going to go to the second one. I lost my.
I'll go to the second one.
Well,
was that your best one or not?
More than one thing.
Was that the best one or not? Have we convinced you that you reached a conclusion improperly?
No, I think they're pretty equal. My daughter, who had cancer.
Hang on, I'm not done talking about this.
Okay.
Your dad had an experience.
All right.
What can we say about that experience? What conclusion can we reach?
Being his son, who knows him so well that he's. When I tell my kids the same thing. If I tell you how to experience, you probably can better look into it because I'm the same kind of guy as him. I'm pretty logical.
See, here's the problem, Maurice.
Rational.
I'm not doubting that your father had an experience. I'm asking you, what conclusion can we reach about that experience?
Well, for me, coupled with other witnesses that I've seen, other things, these different experiences, leads me to say, well, I can't 100% say death is it. I can't 100% say there's not something else.
Great. We agree. I'm not saying I can't 100% say anything, whether death's it or not. But do you have any experience or understanding in neurology?
Well, what about we all know about the doctor, what's his name, who was brain dead, who came back, who's on Ubin, I can't remember his name.
Eben Alexander, the one we talked about previously, where they made the whole thing up and admitted to it?
He admitted to that?
Yeah, Google a little bit. But the question is, what expertise do you have with neurology?
No, I don't have any. But
if you didn't have expertise in neurology and you knew somebody had reported an experience to you, what conclusion could you reasonably reach about that experience?
Well, I think this 100% fact thing you think we need.
No, stop, Maurice, stop. I am on record countless times of saying I see no path to absolute certainty. I've never asked for 100% fact on anything. So don't pretend that you are representing my position at all, because what you just did was build a straw man that you could knock down. I'm not asking for 100% certainty. I'm not asking for 100% fact. I'm asking you, what position can we reasonably reach about someone reporting something if you don't have any expertise in potential explanations for it?
Well, we're talking about the things that lead to what our belief is.
Well, I'm asking a question. Are you going to answer that, or are you going to move on to something else?
No, I don't have. Of course, I don't have any professional expertise. No doctor does. No scientist.
But there are doctors that have more expertise than you and I, correct? People who. Okay, we know that there are, for example,
there are scientists who say that the universe is too fine-tuned to be an accident.
Yes. And how would we go about figuring out whether or not they're correct?
I don't know about figuring out, but to
don't
me,
you think that's important?
Kind of obvious. It's kind of
obvious. I'm not interested in what's obvious to people without expertise in a particular area. That's not how we go about determining truth.
I asked an atheist friend of mine once at work, and I said, "So you believe that, this universe formed kind of accidental-like, and the Earth got in this orbital accidental-like, and it leaned back on its axis and created seasons kind of accidental-like."
Nobody fucking believes that. You are creating yet another straw man. That is not an adequate description of what science has explained about the formation of galaxies, of planets, etc. You are woefully ignorant of the subject, and so you're creating something in order to dismiss the scientific explanations because they conflict with your preferred religious beliefs.
And 100 half-baked ideas don't add up to anything. They add up to zero. So you can't say I got this half-baked thing and this other half-baked thing, and together they make a whole baked thing. It's not true.
Do you believe people? Do you believe people's alien abduction stories?
No, not at all, because it makes no sense.
Why doesn't it make sense? There's nothing at all supernatural about it. We know. Do you realize how big? Do you realize how big the universe is? How many planets there are? What's the potential that life also developed somewhere else in the universe?
Probably pretty good.
Probably pretty good. Then all we're saying is that you don't believe that aliens have visited Earth, despite the fact.
Pretty obvious.
What do you mean it's obvious? How would you know?
Traveled through space. Maybe other beings have figured out how to do that too.
Are you convinced that we've been to the moon?
Okay.
Have we been to the moon?
Yes.
Okay. So what is
I just argue with people on Facebook about that.
Yeah. What is it about alien abduction that makes it less plausible than supernatural soul conversations?
Okay. If aliens come here from say another universe, right?
Well, there's not another universe that we know of. Could you go with like solar system, galaxy, something like that?
Solar system. That's what I meant.
Sure. Yeah.
Which means they've conquered space travel, right?
Sure.
Which means, if the Earth go to another galaxy and find life like us, are they going to hide? No, they're not. We would be able to destroy them with a push of a button. We wouldn't go somewhere and see a civilization and hide.
We don't know what their motivations would be.
Maybe they have a prime directive where they're not allowed to expose themselves and interfere with human life because they're so much far advanced of us. They look at us and they say, look, these jackasses are still believing that there's souls and that they're going to go to an afterlife and that there's gods. They are not on our level. We are not going to interact with them.
Well, see, you all put out a lot of stuff that's belief or conjecture that you don't allow other people to.
Bullshit. I presented a potential thing. I'm not saying I believe that. I don't believe that people are being abducted by aliens off the Earth either. This is about talking about a claim, and at what point does that claim become plausible? At what point is there sufficient evidence for it? I don't believe in alien abductions because there isn't sufficient evidence for it. I'm not the one who believes the thing that is less plausible by definition. You were.